I have an urgent word. I prayed this morning, and God's given me an urgent word I want to share with you with respect to a vote for Tribulation Trump is a vote to give American political, and I might add economic power to black and brown people forever. Let me say that again. A vote, or anyone who votes to impeach Trump is voting to give American political and economic power to black and brown people forever. Now, you may say, am I, in this title, am I trying to say, or is God trying to say that don't vote for Trump? No, don't misunderstand me. I'm just stating it. I'm going to get into the weeds and the details of what I'm expressing. I'm not saying don't vote to impeach Trump. I'm saying a vote to impeach him will result in the loss of white power, white supremacy, the dominance that white folk have had in America since the Puritans landed on Plymouth Rock nearly 4 centuries ago. All that will go out the window if Trump gets impeached. And not just that, but it will be economic power that would then have a global effect in the midst of what we are now understanding as end times. So you need to listen to me carefully. I'm not saying that Trump should not be impeached. I did not say that. I'm telling you what's going to happen if he is impeached. I want you to know that. I think the other thing is that all things understanding, as you noticed the most recent polls, ironically enough, the Fox poll has Trump at, for those who are about the business of impeaching and removing Trump, at 50%. Many of the other polls now have, since the impeachment hearings have taken place, have the popular poll to impeach and remove Trump has fallen from 50% down to 45%. And those who are opposed of the impeaching of Tribulation Trump is now up to 48%. So there's been a seesaw event since the close of the hearings last week. Now, it is highly possible, though I don't think so, it is highly possible that the House will not vote to impeach Trump. Now, I think that they will, but I want you to know that there's a great potential now, if the message is spread effectively, that if you vote to impeach Trump, even in the House, if the Senate don't go along with it, that it is effectively a vote to take away the power of the white man forever in America. That's exactly what that is. And that's why Trump's support is so steady, so enduring, so non-concerned about issues of the Constitution or the rule of law. And I'm going to cover that in a more detailed way in just a moment. But they now understand, and the more that word gets out there, if you impeach Trump, not even remove him from but if the Senate doesn't convict, now I believe that if the matter goes to the Senate, potentially 90, not 67, but 90 senators will vote to impeach Trump. 90 of them will vote to impeach him if it gets to the Senate. I don't even know if it's going to get there. I don't know if Nancy Pelosi, now I believe that she will, but it's not certain. It's not written in stone. It never was, that the House will actually vote to impeach him. Now, I believe that they will, but let me restate my argument here today. A vote to impeach Tribulation Trump is a vote to give political power to black and brown people forever. And they have forever, by the way, is not a very long time. So let's get started with the process here. Well, what I mean by that? I mean simply this, that if you look at what is presently happening now in the realm of politics and the bipartisanism, you know, they keep saying it's Republicans against Democrats, conservatives against liberals, and bipartisanism. That is a misnomer. It is mischaracterizing exactly what's going on in America. What we have in America now is racism, and that's what we have. Now, when I say racism, I don't mean, Jim, I don't mean, hanging at the end of an old oak tree and putting on a white hood and burning crosses on somebody's lawn. I don't mean that. I don't mean turning loose the fire hose and calling somebody the N-word. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who would never go down the road of putting on a white hood. They'd never go down the road of systemic lynchings and hangings. They'd never go back to that. But they also what they will do is that they would do whatever else they can do through the political process, such as the courts, the Supreme Court in particular, the presidency, the executive branch, and other means of their political power to not let the most populous people in America now, black and brown people, take control, and they take a second place as a minority, that white people will become a minority when it comes to political and economic power. They're not going to do that. These are decent people that, they would normally be people you'd want to, sit beside in a theater or church. But they recognize that the loss of white autonomy in America could have a global effect, but more importantly, have an effect upon their children. They may be able to sustain, they've got money stashed away, they've got some deals cut, and they may be able to deal with that. And yesterday I was down in North Carolina at my sister's funeral, and I met, I suppose, will be a cousin of mine, who is the chief of police of the town I grew up in. And he's a brother, he's a Hamite brother. His father, Martin Patterson, Martin and I grew up together. Martin may be 1 or 2 years older than I. But Martin Patterson and I grew up together. We spent the first 14, 15 years of our life walking barefoot in the cotton fields, cropping tobacco, driving my Uncle Luke's mules. Martin's father was named Uncle Luke. His mother was Aunt Jenny Mae. And we spent the first 14 years of our life every day living in the fields, hunting in the woods, cutting wood, and doing the work of a farm boy, riding horses, killing hogs, feeding, doing all of that work out there in North Carolina, walking them fields. For 14 years, Martin and I, we grew up together, shooting rifles. At 8, 9 years old, both of us were shooting rifles and 12 gauge, 14 gauge shotguns. We're down in the woods at 9 years old shooting rifles and shooting at Martin and I. We spent that time together. One of the closest friends I've ever had. He was my cousin. He was my father's, my father, Willie Patterson, his brother, younger brother, Luke Patterson, and Luke's Patterson son was Martin. Anyway, Martin's son joined the police force there in Red Springs, North Carolina, just out of the period of Jim Crow. 30-some years ago as a police officer, and now he's the chief of police. Good God Almighty. Good God Almighty. He is the chief of police. He's this black man. He's my cousin. He's the chief of police in Red Springs, North Carolina, where I grew up with colored water fountains and had to sit in the upper balcony at the movies. Went to an all-black school. Never sat beside a white student. All the days I attended high school in North Carolina. He's now the chief of police. There he is, Ronnie Patterson. That's him. That's my cousin. I had a problem with my tire yesterday. He was able to go to one of the tire fixers to give my cousin a tire and give him a discounted rate. Ronnie Patterson, he's chief of police. He ran for sheriff of North Carolina as well. He's retiring now. He's been in there for 32 years. He's going to retire, and he perhaps will get into politics, maybe run for councilman or maybe governor of the state of North Carolina. Imagine that. Imagine that. So this is the exact example. So I prayed this morning, and I'm looking at Ronnie Patterson, and I'm looking at the burgeoning black and brown power. Suppose Ronnie Patterson becomes the governor of the state of North Carolina, or a senator replacing Tom Tillis in North Carolina. You see what I'm saying? And a vote for Trump, my friends, a vote for Trump, a vote to impeach Trump could very well indeed turn that power. The white autonomy will be lost forever. Let me say this as well. It is inevitable. It doesn't matter. Trump may not be impeached by the House. He may not. I think that he will. But it's inevitable. It's going to happen. There is no way that this matter will remain unresolved. God and his prophet has already spoken that we're going to have nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and brother against brother. So it's going to happen. And I'm not here in any way trying to promote, don't impeach Trump. He ought to be impeached. He should be in jail. So I want that. I think to be said. I think the other thing is that we need to realize is that the white religious, Dr. King said the most racist hour in America was 11 o'clock on Sunday morning because white folk went to one church and black folk went to another. There is a racial divide right now. And again, when I say racist, especially there are a lot of people that are members, that are Japheth, that is to say white people that are members of the ATLAH Women's Church. And I'm not apologizing to the non-members, but to all of the members, I want you to know this is not a hate statement. I am not in any way trying to stir up racial strife or race baiting. You know, I'm just telling it like it is, Aaron Neville. I'm just doing what needs to be done. I'm saying what needs to be said, whether it's against Japheth, white people, or Hamite black people. You know that, and you remain deeply in love in my heart. But I can tell you something. I never thought I would see the day where white Christians, or so-called Christians, would be as ungodly. I mean, you can find more Jesus in a brothel, you can find more Jesus in a local whorehouse than you can in the Southern Baptist Convention or anybody that's on Salem media. You know you can. And I know that seems startling, but there have been several studies, and we posted one up the other day by a prolific author that spent 2 years traversing the Southern Baptist churches. And she's concluded that they've given up on Jesus and the gospel. They've gone full political power, and they've made Trump their now deliverer and their savior. So, including people like Paula White, who is a spiritual counselor to Tribulation Trump. But I never thought I'd see the day where the evangelicals, the Southern Baptists, would abdicate the power of the Word of God. But there's something more important to them than Jesus and God's word, and that is that they remain in white power. And I think it's because they are afraid that if black power, if Muslims and black people and others come to power, they're going to remember the years that white people used the law, used their economics, used their political power to abuse black people, even enslave them and imprison them. And how many black men have been executed falsely because of the abuse of white power? And I think the thing that if historians are going to write about this, they're going to look at the abuse that Trump is posing, of abuse of rule of law, abuse of the Constitution, Bill Barr sustaining that, Mitch McConnell working in conjunction with Trump's abuse of the law, abuse of the rule of law. And a number of people are going to say, well, Pastor Manning, this ain't nothing new. White people have been abusing the law when it comes to black people since day one. They've always done this when it comes to black and brown people. They've always done it. What you're now saying, they're not doing it to white people who are opposed to their political shenanigans of trying to maintain white supremacy in America. Because Pastor Matt, they've always done that to black folk. They've always, Bill Barr, the Attorney General, they've always been that way. The president has always been that way when it comes to black people. Now, there's been a double standard of justice. And that's what many will say. And many historians will record that's where that is at. I want to read something here that was broadcast last night on the Lawrence O'Donnell show. It's from the one of the foremost directors of the FBI and also of the CIA. Now let me just set the stage here. It says that the privilege of being the only American in our history to serve as director of both the FBI and the CIA gives me a unique perspective and responsibility to speak out about the dire threats to the rule of law of the country I love. Order protects liberty, and liberty protects order. Today, the integrity of the institution that protect our civil order is tragically under assault from too many people whose job it should be to protect them. The rule of law is the bedrock of American democracy and the principle that protects every American from the abuse of monarchs, despots, and tyrants. Every American should demand that our leaders put the rule of law above politics. I'm deeply disturbed, writes this William Webster, who was the head of the CIA and the FBI. He said, I'm deeply disturbed by the assertion of President Trump that our current director, as he refers to the man he selected for the job of running the FBI, cannot fix what the president calls a broken agency. And it goes on and on. William Webster makes this statement. And we're watching now the conversion of I think the better statement and a cameo here is that liberal white people and constitutionally minded, if you will, to some degree, white people are watching what other white people have done to black people since the formation of this nation, since the days of slavery, the days of the Civil War, and Jim Crow. Let me say that to you again. What William Webster is watching and what Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi and what many white liberals are watching white people like William Barr, Tribulation Trump, Mitch McConnell, and Republicans and the senators and everybody else. What you are watching what you're watching President Tribulation Trump do is what they've done to black people from day one. And that's just how that is. That's exactly how that is. And so the transition is this. You are now liberals, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and all the other liberals, Democrats, and Hollywood stars and all that kind. You are 300 years behind where black people have already gone. Black people have already gone down this road of watching the Attorney General. Black people have already gone down this road of watching the Justice Department not be justice for black people. Black people have already gone down this road, 300 years of this road. Black people have already gone down there. You are just now stepping on the crossroad and getting ready to go where black people have been for over 300 years. They've been where y'all are watching. What y'all are watching Trump do now, what you're watching Bill Barr do now, what you're watching Lindsey Graham do now, what you're watching Mitch McConnell do now. Black people have been witnessing this for 300 years. Your babies. You white liberals, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and all the rest of y'all Democrats and liberals, you are babies. In fact, you haven't even started to walk yet. You haven't started to crawl down this road yet. Black people got this one on y'all hands down. So let's look at this once again. So who's the autonomy going to? Who's the black power going to? And what is it that Bill Barr, Tribulation Trump, Republican senators and congresspersons, and the white evangelical, every Baptist, Southern Baptist pastor, every teacher on Salem Media, Franklin Graham, what are they trying to do? They are trying to stop a people that they have oppressed and abused from 300 years coming into their birth of political power, political autonomy. And not only that, but once you own the seat of government, you can tax people and make them folk with all that money turn it over to you. That's right. And that's what Trump is trying to do. And that's why no matter whatever Trump does, I don't care if he shoots Franklin Graham's mama, they ain't gonna leave him. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm telling you right now, they ain't gonna leave him because there's something far more. They are scared of the 300 years of oppression, of slavery, of white supremacy, of hatred, of debauchery, of injustice, of rape and murder that they have done for the past 300 years. And they're scared that the chickens are coming home to roost. They may not impeach him. They may not impeach him. Listen, I'm going to let you listen to Frank Leguzzi, and who was interviewed last night by Lawrence O'Donnell. And we'll be back with more of where we're going. There are several things I want to do before I wrap up here today. Mr. Engineer, roll clip number 1, I believe it is.
Frank, your reaction to William Webster finally speaking out on this?
Lawrence, when somebody like William Webster speaks, which he doesn't do often anymore, America needs to listen. When someone like William Webster says, this isn't American, this isn't the rule of law, we need to listen. And I think if you read his op-ed in the New York Times, you'll see his reference to what's coming down the road, where this could be headed. So I want people to understand this isn't about a thin-skinned group of FBI folks who can't take criticism. FBI agents get bashed and beaten and shot at. They can take the criticism. What I think pops out at me out of the editorial is Webster saying, this isn't so much about where we are right now, about where this is headed. He talks about perhaps losing the independence and neutrality of an FBI. That's a dangerous place to be when we see a president hinting at thinking about removing the current FBI director. We have an attorney general criticizing an IG report, saying the FBI is spying on a campaign. You know where that's going based on hints and clues we're getting? That's going to a political person running the FBI and a political person in the attorney general telling the FBI what to do or not do. That's what I think Mr. Webster is really concerned about.
And Andrew Weissman, in the Mueller investigation, you and that team lived through what William Webster is arguing against here, this kind of attack on FBI agents, attack on federal prosecutors. And one of the things that struck me about the impeachment hearings is the one thing Donald Trump could not do, which he did with your team almost every day. He could not threaten to fire Eric Swalwell. He couldn't threaten to fire Adam Schiff, as he was doing throughout the Mueller investigation. What is the effect of that kind of attack from the President of the United States on federal investigators?
Well, I think you're seeing it because you see the corrosive power that he has, because you can see just what's happened with the change in White House counsel, going from McGahn to Cipollone, and seeing the letter that Cipollone signed is really not what you expect from the White House counsel. You might expect that from his personal counsel. And then you've seen the change from Attorney General Sessions to Attorney General Barr. And former Director Webster, I thought, was really poignant and attacking not just what the president is doing, but also what the Attorney General is doing. And to follow up with what Frank is talking about, the danger here is if you do not have an independent Department of Justice and you do not have an independent FBI, that means that it is subject to the political process. Do we really want to live in a society where we are now a banana republic? What everything that we have fought to have Ukraine not be is what we will become, because it means the president or the attorney general can just go after political opponents. And that really is the end of the rule of law. And that's what I think Director Webster was talking about.
Let me say this, two things. Thing number one is I want to protect the Japheth, or the white people, and there are many that are members of the ATLAH ministry with the deepest love and concern, but they know the truth that I preach. But the other thing I want to state is this: what we see happening here in America is an attempt to stop the changing of the guards. What we see effectively happening now, with Tribulation Trump being an abuser, a prolific liar, a pathological liar, a public degenerate. And what we see with Bill Barr he's been an advocate for the illegality, and others within the white Republican conservative structure, including white evangelicals. Black people, black and brown people have witnessed this for the past 300 years. And when I first did episode number 1 of this, you got the idea I was simply focusing on Jamestown and slavery in America, and to some degree in the Caribbean. The abuse of power that white men in political power and economic structure have levied against black and brown people for the past 300 years in America. But it just hasn't just been in America. It's been in Africa. It's been in India. It's been in the Caribbean. For years, they have done it. So what white liberals are now looking at is that they're looking at the behavior of the white man to his brother, the white man, that he's always and never failed to do to the black and the brown man. That's what's happening. And that's the only thing that's going on. And in this instance of where Tribulation Trump is right now, the more recent polls have indicated there's been a shift since the impeachment to 45% of the American people in several polls consistently over the last week that Trump should be impeached and removed, and 48% saying he should not. Now, perchance, what is now happening is that the message is now getting out. Impeach Trump, and you take away white power forever. Doesn't matter what Trump has done. Everybody knows he's done. Everybody knows what he did. He extorted, he bribed, he cajoled, he strong-armed, he bamboozled, he lied. He withheld legal funds that should have gone to Ukraine to get a personal political favor, to try to dig up dirt on Joe Biden. Everybody knows he did that. But that's not what the issue is. The issue is this, is that what we now see happening, and by the way, this is the revelation of God. You see, because you talk to the average black man in prison or the average black man in the ghetto, and you say, oh, this ain't nothing new. The president's been abusing power ever since there's been a president, as far as the black man's concerned, black and brown man. Ask him over there in India. Ask him in Nigeria. Ask him over there in Kenya. Ask them in Liberia. Ask them in South Africa. Ask them in the Caribbean. Ask them in Jamaica. Go and ask them wherever you want to ask them. Ask black and brown man in India. Ask them in China. Ask them in the Philippines. Ask them in Vietnam. Ask them in Afghanistan. Ask them in Iraq or Iran. Ask them in Syria. Ask them anywhere you want to ask the black and the brown man. And they'll tell you, oh, what? This ain't news to them. Been watching this for 300 years. But now he's turned on his own kind. It's brother against brother. We just see the white man now finally, after 300 years. The Constitution don't mean nothing. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, Gerald Nadler. Oh, y'all, I see. You expect the president and William Barr to follow the law. Hell, you ask the black and brown men, they ain't never followed the law when it came to them. Never. So this ain't nothing new. So the deal is here. This is what it needs to be understood. There is a transition of power. It really doesn't necessarily mean that whether they vote to impeach Trump or not, he's gone. God says he's gone. That's why he's gone. Now, he may remain he may beat this impeachment issue. He may beat it. It may never even come to a full vote in the House. He may beat it, but he's gone. He's already done what he needs to do. He's finished. The only thing he needs to do now is just go out and jump in the lake. He's done what he needed to do. He has shown the world who the Japheth man is. He's shown the world who America is. Dead bodies in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, are now realizing, and those in the Philippines under Douglas MacArthur, and those in the European theater under Eisenhower in World War II. Now the truth and now the fullness. The white man has been this way for the last 300 years across planet Earth. And Tribulation Trump is the pinnacle of all. He's finished. How soon he's going to go, and when he goes, it'll be by way of suicide. When he goes, that's how he's going to go. Now, I'm not saying he should. Don't come knocking on my door, say I said that about the president. I'm just telling you what people do. Telling you, well, come up here accusing me of anything. But it's all over with. So then the inevitable is this, is that then what happens if who comes to power when the war between the white man, the liberal, and the conservative fight each other? Well, if you see your enemy killing themselves, don't stop him. The people that that the white evangelicals now, the white preachers, the Franklin Grahams of the world, the Pat Robertsons of the world, the Jerry Falwell Juniors of the world, who's trying to keep his wife's infidelity with some Cuban down there, some Cuban pool cleaner. She probably trying to keep that secret and paying out millions and millions of dollars. The Jerry Falwell Juniors of the world, they decided to go with Trump rather than Jesus. Now, I have to tell you, if you don't mind my saying so for full disclosure, that black people decided to go with Obama rather than Jesus. It's obvious what Trump is doing to the Constitution. It is not so obvious unless you're deeply spiritual, deeply in the arms and bosom of God to see what Obama did to the Bible. No. Obama destroyed the churches. He destroyed them. He ran over the churches like Sherman's March to the Sea. Two men can get married in the church now because of that heathen. That's right. 2 women can get married in the church now because of Obama. Destroyed the faith, destroyed the integrity of the word, laughed at the gospels and also the law. Obama did. And still, you got black folk right now who thinks that Obama's justice was true justice for them. They were deceived worse than anything else. I've been talking about deception. That boy Obama, he's one of the greatest deceivers that ever walked planet Earth. Trump is just a buffoon. He's like a bull in a china shop. Obama's a smooth talking deceiver to a bunch of weak-minded black people. But it's not Obama I want to focus on. I did that for the past 12 years. Let me get to Trump. So here's the deal. And my next segment, I'm going to talk about, well, what about if he's not impeached? What about the 2020 election? And that's where we want to go. We're not going to go there today. We're not going to do that now. We're going to conclude this segment here today. And tomorrow we'll get back and let me just give you the update on the 2020 election based on whether or not Trump is impeached or not impeached. But let me leave you with this. What you see Bill Barr doing now, what you see Lindsey Graham doing now, and what you see the white Republicans not budging, and what you see many white Democrats who understand the process jumping ship and becoming Republicans, or white Democrats jumping ship and saying they're not going to vote to impeach Trump because they played the Democrats and the liberals. They put on the Democrat and the liberal suit to get the Democrat position. But they've been liberals, they've been white racists in their hearts all along. But let me pull your coat to something. And I want to reassure all the Japheth people who love Jesus of my love for them. But what you see, the black and the brown man in India and Africa and in Jamaica and in America, in South Carolina and in Vicksburg, Mississippi, they've been watching this for over 300 years. This ain't nothing new. What you see happening in the news with Trump and Barr and Lindsey Graham, this ain't nothing new to them. Come up with something new. And by the way, I'll be talking to you about the upcoming election and Russia's meddling in the 2016 election, etc. I'm James Ibn Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. This is a bit of a news blog we do looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.